My grandmother's final words to me have stuck in my mind. Sometimes the greatest betrayals are hidden within the most beautiful packages, dear. I didn't grasp the meaning back then, but now it makes perfect sense. I'm Natalie, and just last week, as if in a nightmare, my family took my inheritance right from under me. Standing in the Victorian house my grandmother had promised would be mine since I was 12, I clutched the envelope she'd left behind. After the lawyer completed the will reading, my mother's perfectly manicured hand reached for the house keys. "Sweetheart, you have to understand," she explained, her voice oozing with false concern. "The house needs extensive repairs. We just want to shield you from that burden. Protect me." I looked from her to my father, who avoided my eyes by selling it without even telling me. My brother Sullivan stood casually against the door frame, arms crossed. "Come on, Nat. You couldn't handle the property taxes anyway." The familiar scent of Gran's lavender sasha still lingered, and only 3 weeks ago we shared tea in her sunroom, relishing her stories of youthful escapades. Yet here they were, dividing up her life like scavengers. "You can't do this," I protested, my voice trembling. "Gran left it to me. It was in the will." "Actually," my sister Riley interjected, "Mom and Dad have power of attorney, and the sale's already finalized." Help myself go pale. "What sale?" "We found a lovely buyer," Mom said, smoothing her expensive blouse, "who's offered well above market value. The papers are signed." Clutching Gran's envelope, which I hadn't yet opened, its arrival accompanied by strict instructions to wait post-will reading, I whispered, "Get out." "Don't be dramatic, Natalie," Dad finally spoke. "We're family." "Family?" A harsh laugh escaped my lips. "Family doesn't do this. Get out of my grandmother's house now." They filed out, with Mom pausing at the door. "We're meeting the buyer tomorrow to hand over the keys. Best you come make peace with it." Alone, I sank into Gran's favorite armchair and opened the envelope with shaking hands. Inside was a note and a small key. "My dearest Natalie, if you're reading this, they did exactly what I feared. But I've left you a gift they know nothing about, something to help you fight back." Check behind the loose brick in the garden wall, the one marked with a heart. My heart pounded as I stood. Gran always said revenge is best served with patience and wisdom. It seems she left me the perfect recipe. Schuyler Martinez's law office, infused with the smells of leather and coffee, was where I laid Gran's documents on her desk. The papers hidden behind that garden brick had kept me awake all night. "Well," Schuyler noted, adjusting her glasses, "your grandmother was incredibly meticulous. And they really sell the house without my consent?" She smiled, the type of smile that demands full attention. "That's the intriguing part. 6 months ago, your grandmother added a clause to her will. The house can't be sold without your explicit consent, regardless of power of attorney. But Mom said the sale's already processed." I countered, to which Schuyler leaned forward. "This means someone forged your signature." My chair's armrest creaked under my grip. "What?" She pointed to a document. "This is allegedly your signature on the sale agreement, but the date confirms otherwise." She tapped the paper. "You were in Seattle that day, correct?" "Yes, I have flight receipts," I nodded. "Keep those ready, we'll need them." Schuyler typed on her computer. "The buyer, Edward Jackson, is meeting us today. He should understand that his purchase isn't valid." "Can we really stop this?" "Not only can we stop it, Natalie, but we can also reverse it. Whoever forged your signature might face severe repercussions." I phone buzzed Riley's text. "Mom's furious you consulted a lawyer, says you're betraying the family." I showed Schuyler, who shook her head. "Interesting how they interpret betrayal." A knock interrupted us. Edward Jackson appeared, looking more concerned than a genuine buyer should. "Mr. Jackson," Schuyler invited, motioning to a chair, "please join us." "I assume you're here about," glancing at me, he mentioned the house. "Your mother assured me everything was settled." "Flatly," I replied. "My mother lied. I never signed those documents." Edward's face turned pale. "What?" Schuyler slid the papers across her desk. "The sale can't proceed without Natalie's consent. This signature, it's a forgery. She wasn't even in the same state that day." Running a hand through his hair, Edward said, "They told me you had agreed, that you just couldn't make it for the signing." "They were wrong," I stated. "The house means the world to me. It's my grandmother's." Cutting in, he added, "I know. Your mother mentioned you're quite emotional and difficult about letting it go." His tone made me pause. "What else did they say?" He hesitated before reaching into his briefcase. "I think you should see these emails. Your family has been planning this sale for a while now. They were set on rushing it through." As he spread out printed emails on Schuyler's desk, I recalled my grandmother's words. The biggest betrayals come wrapped in the prettiest packages. She must have known. The emails made me nauseated. Mom had been looking for buyers even while Gran was still alive. Your mom said there might be resistance, Edward added, pointing at a message. She claimed you were too attached to recognize the financial opportunity. Looking at the date, I saw it was sent just 2 days after Gran's funeral. Skylar gathered the documents. Mr. Jackson, would you be willing to make an official statement? Yes, he nodded. I should have questioned more when they rushed everything. Something felt off. iPhone buzz. Sullivan's call was declined. There's more, Edward said quietly. Your mother also spoke about valuable items hidden in the house by your grandmother. Instantly, I remembered Gran's letter and the key she mentioned but didn't specify the location. They need to secure the house quickly before you have a chance to... He trailed off. Before I have a chance to find whatever she left for me. Skylar filed the emails. This is strong evidence of their intent, Natalie. We should... The door banged open. Mom stood there impeccably dressed, with Riley trailing her. Natalie, what do you think you're doing? Her words were sweet, but edged with steel. I was going to ask you the same. Holding up the forged document, I questioned, care to explain? She barely glanced at it. Edward, we had an agreement. An agreement built on deceit. He stood his ground. I'm pulling out of this. Mother's facade cracked. You can't. We've already allocated the funds. Allocated? I joined in as in spent money you didn't yet have. Riley stepped closer. Nat, please. Mom and Dad need this for the business. What business? I challenged. A guarded look from Mom hushed Riley. Enough, Natalie. This house is a burden. So why sell it off so desperately? I brandished Gran's letter. What are you scared I'll discover? Her gaze wavered at the envelope and real trepidation flickered. Whatever you think is wrong, she said cautiously. You don't know everything. Then explain what's hidden in that house worth forging my signature. Silence. At last, Mom turned to leave, saying softly, some secret should remain buried. Exiting, Skylar reached for her phone. I'm making a call. We need to get into that house tonight before they attempt something else. Leaving Skylar's office, Sullivan intercepted me. You're making a colossal mistake, he asserted, blocking my car. Mom and Dad invested everything in this deal. Everything they had, or everything they embezzled, I retorted. He gripped my arm. Listen, Dad made bad investments. The family's business is failing. Pulling free, I lashed out. So it's okay to rob me of my inheritance? Your inheritance? He sneered. You were always her favorite. Every family dinner, it was always about dear Natalie. That's false, I retorted. Then why did she leave you the sunroom was where she spent hours whispering secrets, and we merely watched from outside. A car door loudly shut nearby as Riley arrived, her heels making a distinct clicking noise on the asphalt. They're meeting tonight, she informed, though she avoided direct eye contact, at the Riverside Hotel regarding the house. Startled, Sullivan turned around and demanded, Riley, stop. She crossed her arms defiantly. No, she declared, I'm done lying. Mom and Dad are plotting something, Nat, something huge. I questioned, why tell me this now? She paused before revealing, because I found something in Mom's office documents about Gran's estate that didn't align with the will. Sullivan moved closer. You shouldn't have gone through those, he accused. Fiercely, Riley retorted, and you had no right to fake our sister's signature. I looked at my brother incredulously. You forged my signature? He looked guilty and admitted it. Mom said it was the only way. We needed money urgently before what? Riley interrupted, before the audit. The business is under investigation for fraud. They need untainted money to cover it up. iPhone buzzed. Skylar texted, got the keys, meet at the house in 30. I need to leave, I said, maneuvering past Sullivan. Hold on, Riley called after me. The meeting is tonight, 8 p.m. room 412. They don't know I'm onto them, but I overheard Mom. Whatever this is, it's imminent. Sullivan grabbed her arm, warning, you'll regret this. She pulled her arm free. No, I'm finished being part of this mess. Gran wouldn't have wanted any of this. I glanced at my siblings, Sullivan defensive and angry, Riley finally sincere, and said, thanks, Riley. But why now? She gave a sad smile. Gran told me it's better to do the right thing late than never. Driving away, I texted Skylar, change of plans, we need to crash a meeting tonight. Bring your phone to record everything. Everything was becoming clear. The secrets the house held, I felt we'd uncover them all tonight. Room 412 at the Riverside Hotel had an adjoining door to 414. Skylar and I pressed our ears to the wall. Mom's voice was clear thanks to the hotel's thin partitions. The audit team arrives Monday, she was saying. We must get that money transferred by then. We know, Dad interrupted. but Natalie's lawyer is causing issues. Fix it, Griffin, Mom snapped. We didn't spend 30 years building this business to watch it fail because your mother decided to play favorites from beyond the grave. I began recording on my phone. What about the paintings? A new voice, Edward inquired. You said there were valuable paintings hidden in the house. They exist, Mom retorted. Martha, my cunning mother-in-law, she had a collection. Insurance documents, but they're worth at over $2 million. I hand trembled. Grand's art collection. She had always told me they were just prints. And you're certain they're in the house? Edward questioned. Inside the walls, Dad said, behind the sunroom's wooden panels. That's why we must hurry. Skylar jotted down insurance fraud. The audit team will expose everything. Mom continued, the fake invoices, the offshore accounts. Martha knew, and that's why she altered her will in the end, leaving everything to Natalie to guard the art. Dad sighed, making sure we couldn't access it. Well, she failed. Mom's voice hardened. Once we regained that house. Suddenly, a loud noise interrupted as Riley entered their room. Mom, Dad! What's happening? Riley, why are you here? I followed you. I overheard everything. Honey, this doesn't concern you. Doesn't concern me? You're stealing from Grand's estate from Natalie. We're safeguarding our family's legacy, Mom insisted. By committing fraud? Riley's voice wavered. By forging signatures and hiding artwork? Your father and I had no option. The business was sinking, Mom defended. Because you were embezzling money, Riley exclaimed. Gran figured it out, didn't she? That was why she changed her will. A silence followed before Dad quietly asked, How long have you known? Long enough, Riley asserted. I discovered the real accounts, the ones you hid from auditors. Gran left clues not just for Natalie, but for all of us to decide who would do the right thing. Skylar nudged my elbow, hinting toward the door. We had gathered enough evidence. Transfixed by my sister's words, I stood frozen as the events unfolded. I'm calling the police, declared Riley with determination. No, you're not, snarled Mom, just before a loud crash echoed and Riley screamed. At that moment, protecting family secrets became less crucial than doing the right thing. I burst through the connecting door just as Mom smashed Riley's phone against the wall. Leave her alone, I shouted, causing everyone to freeze. Dad stood in shock by the window, while Edward edged towards the exit. Mom maintained a grip on Riley's arm, saying eerily, The prodigal daughter finally returns. Skylar stepped in behind me, phone visibly recording. Let her go, Kennedy, unless you want assault added to the fraud charges, she warned. Mom released Riley, who quickly moved to my side. You recorded everything, didn't you? Riley whispered. Yes, everything. The fraud, the embezzlement, the art theft, I confirmed. You don't understand, Dad pleaded. The business was collapsing. We needed help. By robbing your mother? I interrupted. You forged documents and concealed evidence. Edward then spoke. I should confess my involvement now. You wouldn't dare, Mom shot back, but Edward revealed his own phone. I've been recording since you discussed rushing the sale. Something felt off. You're all making a big mistake, Mom insisted, but her calm facade was crumbling. The paintings Riley mentioned, they're stolen and Gran discovered it. Gran exposed Dad's money laundering through art theft when one of her paintings turned out fake. Dad sank into a chair, confessing. Martha confronted me 6 months ago with proof. That's when she changed her will. She added a clause about my consent, knowing we'd attempt selling the house, explained Mom bitterly. We had to get those paintings before the audit. Skylar had dialed, Detective, room 412 at Riverside. We have multiple confessions recorded. As Mom lunged for her, I stepped between them. It's over, Mom. Grant left me this house to protect her legacy from people like you. Laughing bitterly, Mom replied, I built this family. She judged us from her high moral ground. No, said Riley quietly. You destroyed it. Gran was trying to save us. Police sirens wailed. Dad buried his face in his hands while Edward blocked the door. Are the paintings still here? I asked. Mom's silence confirmed it. I looked at Skylar. We must get to them first. She nodded. I'll call for a warrant. As the sirens closed in, I watched as my parents' empire crumbled, built on deception, shattered by truth. Gran would have been proud. The police located the paintings exactly where Dad mentioned, hidden behind wooden panels in Gran's sunroom. 13 masterpieces, each linked to a theft. Your father's business was a facade, Detective Morris explained. High-end furniture imports concealed stolen art. As Sullivan arrived during the last painting's removal, he asked, What have you done, Nat? I replied. I didn't turn Gran's home into an art storage for theft. They're going to prison, he said, voice breaking. Our parents are going to prison, Riley stated. They made their choice, like you did when you forged Nat's signature. The detective perked up. Is that an admission of forgery? Sullivan's face crumpled. Mom said no one would get hurt. But they did, I said gently. Gran's final days were spent uncovering her son as a criminal. Her art replaced with forgeries, their business a sham. MS. Martinez? An evidence technician called, revealing a metal box from the last panel. Skylar joined as they extracted it. My heart racing. It was the perfect size for the key Gran left me. That's private property. Skylar smiled while Sullivan voiced his objections. The will stated that everything in the house was left to Natalie. The key fit perfectly in the lock, revealing a leather-bound journal and a USB drive inside. Your grandmother contacted me 6 months ago, Skylar explained. She'd been collecting evidence, documenting everything. She knew they would try to sell the house after she was gone. Why didn't she go to the police? Riley asked. I realized Gran wanted to give them a chance to confess, remembering her words about love and wisdom. She was protecting us till the very end, I said. Detective Morris examined the journal's contents and said, this is enough to imprison them for a long time. Art theft, money laundering, fraud. Sullivan slumped against the wall. I didn't know about any of this, I swear. No, Riley said. You just went along with it like we all did until now. I opened Gran's journal to the last entry, and her familiar handwriting brought tears to my eyes. My dearest Natalie, if you're reading this, you've done what I couldn't, expose the truth while protecting what matters most. A family's true legacy is not money or art, but the courage to stand up for what's right. I'm so proud of you, my girl. As the police finished their work, Riley, Sullivan, and I stood in the sunroom, watching the sunset through Gran's stained glass windows. Our family would never be the same, but maybe that was exactly what we needed. The morning sunlight filled Gran's freshly cleaned windows as I sipped tea from her favorite cup. Riley was sitting across from me in the sunroom while Sullivan helped Edward with the last of the restored artwork. The insurance company confirmed it, Skylar said, looking over documents at Gran's antique desk. Once they verify the painting's authenticity, the recovery reward alone will be substantial. I don't care about the money, I said. I just want the art back where it belongs. Edward hung the final piece, a small impressionist garden scene, in its original spot. Your grandmother had incredible taste, he remarked. These aren't just valuable, they're beautiful. She always said art should be lived with, not locked away. Riley smiled, running her hand along the frame. Sullivan cleared his throat. Listen, Nat, about everything I know I cut him off. You're sorry, but sorry doesn't fix this. No, he agreed, but maybe this will help. He pulled out a stack of papers. I'm testifying against Dad's business partners, all of them. Sully, Riley gasped. Those people are dangerous. So is living with guilt, he replied, setting down the papers. Gran taught us better than this. The doorbell rang and Edward went to answer. He returned with Detective Morris, who announced, good news, your parents took the plea deal. They'll serve time, but their cooperation means we can dismantle the entire smuggling network. And the business? Riley asked. It's being dissolved, but the legitimate assets will be returned to the estate, the detective said, smiling. Your grandmother's legacy is secure now. I walked to the garden wall, touching the brick where I'd found Gran's letter. She knew this would happen, all of it. She knew we'd make the right choice eventually. Riley joined me, saying, even if it took some of us longer than others. Sullivan picked up Gran's teacup and examined its delicate pattern. Remember how she used to say every broken thing has a story, and every story has a lesson? I do, I finished. Edward and Skylar started gathering their things. The house is officially yours now, Skylar said. No more legal hurdles. What will you do with it? Edward asked. As I looked around at the art on the walls, the sun catching the stained glass, and the garden beyond, I saw my siblings broken but healing. Exactly what Gran wanted, I said. Make it a home again. A real one this time. Riley squeezed my hand, and Sullivan nodded in understanding. Later, as the evening light painted the sunroom in amber, I found one last note tucked inside Gran's journal. Remember, darling, revenge is sweet, but redemption is sweeter. Some families break to become stronger. Love always, Gran. I closed the journal, smiling. She was right, as always. The house wasn't just my inheritance. It was my chance to rebuild something better from the ruins of what we'd lost. And this time we'd do it right.